So, who would like to start? Mr. Barnes, why does Sam aggravate you?
What big three?
The big three.
What big three?
Androids, aliens, and wizards.
That's not a thing.
That's definitely a thing.
No, it's not.
Every time we fight one of the three.
So who are you fighting now, Gandalf?
How do you know about Gandalf?
I read The Hobbit in 1937 when it first came out.
So you see my point.
No, I don't. There are no wizards.
Doctor Strange
Is a sorcerer.
A sorcerer is a wizard without a hat. Think about it, right?
Welcome, everybody, to Enemy of the Good. I'm Tootsie, and with me, as always, is the Captain.
What's up?
Today is another episode on some more film and sci-fi, and today we're going to be asking the question about fan theories. Are they the enemy of the good?
Yeah, I feel like fan theories are out there, and it's fun as a fan to think about these things and kind of come up with your own conclusion about what's going to happen on a show. A lot of them turn out to be wrong. You and I have had some on WandaVision that didn't turn.
No, I was like 90% wrong with all of my predictions.
Yeah, well, most of us usually are.
But I think there's a difference between predictions and fan theories.
I mean, we all had our thoughts about what Star Wars was going to do and everything like that. So, I mean, we all have our own ideas about what we want, but none of us actually write movies or TV shows. So we don't get what we want. We have to get what they give us.
Right. And I view fan theories kind of the way I do spoilers. I like to avoid them.
Well, yeah. I mean,
because
if you get into one and you like it and you start enjoying it and then it doesn't turn, then you get upset.
Exactly. And I don't want that to happen. I like to be surprised. And I guess that's something that changed in me because I used to love spoilers and I used to love to kind of get the jump on all this, but it just changed in me because what the MCU specifically has done is they have taken their own direction. They've taken inspiration in a lot of things from the comics, but they've made their own universe. They've made their own stories, and they've been good.
Right. I mean, unlike...
Say it.
Unlike Star Wars, right?
Thank you.
The last three shows were not good at all. I mean, they came out with Solo, which was a really good movie. It just came out at a bad time.
It should have come out before.
Rogue One was really good. But those tied in directly to what we already knew was happening, right? So they gave us these three episodes, 7, 8, 9. And, I'm going to be honest with you. They're not great movies at all, but they're good standalones. They don't really fight to make a trilogy out of it. But I also think fan theories were a big portion of why the last few movies just were not good.
Well, but then look at the fan theories that circulate around the MCU, right? I mean, we had 10 years of fan theories, but the movies that came out were amazing. So it's not that you see, the problem with Star Wars is the fan theories were better than the actual plot.
But they were amazing to you. Okay. There's people out there who are like, oh, that movie sucked because we didn't get this. Or, it was not a good movie because they didn't give us that. I mean, they just did that with WandaVision, right? So their fan theory didn't come true on WandaVision, and they're talking about, oh, well, that last episode was horrible. Well, I'm sorry. That last episode was really good.
Was good. It was both good superhero and good cinema because here comes the spoilers. You realize, and I mean, the show led us to believe this all along, but it actually hooked us in. And this is what I love about it. It was all her illusion the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, yes.
And we knew
yes
that.
And no.
We knew that.
You saw with Monica Rambeau where it did manifest her mutant abilities. So, people kind of drawing onto that saying, oh, this is how we're going to get mutants into the MCU. That's not a bad theory,
but it's not a good angle. It's a hint, but it's not official. They didn't say, "Oh, she's a mutant." right? It's
No, Darcy pretty much said that.
But again,
I mean, she's not a mutant per se, as in X-Men, or in the X-Men origins, where
the abilities
they're
manifest naturally.
manifest after a certain age. Hers were brought on, kind of, i.e., Deadpool, through
Right.
A different way.
I think that's a possibility, but I think as far as like introducing mutants, it's a pretty good introduce.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Like, did I want to see the multiverse bust open and see some X-Men run through? Sure, it would have been awesome. But honestly, it wouldn't have fit with the story.
No. And with comics, you have like 60 years in some cases of characters that have built upon each other, story upon story, year upon year. You've got 8-10 issue series arcs building on 60 book crossover events that have dominated comics for the last 2 decades. And you can tell so much more story in that, and you can have so many more characters. But in film, even on the serial, the episodic, you still have limited, because you've only got so much screen time. You have actors, you got to get all this stuff together. And I think they're going to limit the number of characters they're going to introduce. Like WandaVision introduced a lot of characters because there was a lot of supporting cast.
Right.
But you had a brand new villain in Agatha Harkness. And, the whole sword FBI standoff kind of happened.
Yeah, and then you get the introduction of Monica Rambeau.
Monica Rambeau is a new hero. You've got a new Vision who's different from the old Vision, who's different from the Wanda's Vision. And it's
you just used the title of the show in the
see what I did there?
Yeah, I mean, look, if the MCU doesn't have a story coming out just based around Monica Rambeau, then I don't know what was the point of introducing her. There's going to be a show. Can she carry a movie? Probably not. But she can definitely
she's probably
carry
going to be in the
show.
Captain Marvel too.
Yeah, well, I mean, sure. But I mean, I feel like we need more from her. Like, I would like to see her in a serial. I'd like to see her in a series arc, even if it's only 10 episodes and that's all we get of her. It would be good, because then you can use her and just bridge her into different movies, right? So even though we only saw her here, it doesn't mean she's not going to show up in
Secret Wars or Captain Marvel 2
or even
Guardians of the Galaxy,
even Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
she may show up in that. I mean,
I don't think she will. I think they're going to lead. I think what they're going to do is they've got to develop, because there's so much, because they've still got to bring in a bunch of people. Falcon and Winter Soldier is going to be another introduction of new characters and new villains. Yeah, you have the 3 main characters that have been teased so far. Of course, it's Falcon and Winter Soldier, but you've also got Zemo teased, Baron Zemo.
But also, when is this taking place in the timeline, right?
Well, I mean, this is after. This is
after Infinity War, after Endgame. What's the timeline on that?
Yeah, I don't know.
We were 3 weeks out for WandaVision. So what's going to be the timeline? Is it going to be
I would
happening
imagine
at the
it's
same
something
time,
close. Yeah.
or right after WandaVision? Because if it happens right after WandaVision, you could definitely see her coming in to go talk to Falcon and Winter Soldier about, Secret Wars and stuff, because they had that little teaser at the end where they showed her meeting the Skrull guy.
Yeah.
To tie her into Captain Marvel 2, but that can also bring her into Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Because I mean, this whole phase, whatever it is, whatever number, I don't even remember anymore, is gonna tie around the Secret Wars. We know that.
Well, I think that first, the thing with the phase is you've got the Avengers scattered. They've disbanded.
Right, but I think that's what they're using the shows to bring everything together. Right?
Right.
So you use these shows to bring it together, then you hit them in the movies.
Yeah.
Kind of like we talked about before with the Netflix. They gave the Daredevil, the Jessica Jones, the Iron Fist, all of that together, and then they brought them into
Defenders.
So I think we had that kind of same thing coming around again, but just with these, and they're going to tie them into the greater aspect because they didn't change actors. They're using the same actors, which is crazy that they're able to get these guys to do these serial shows. These are big actors. It's not like everyday little guys. So I mean, it's cool to see that they're able to do this. But I mean, contracts.
Right, and I mean, you've only got. Well, I mean, it's Disney. They have a lot of money. They maybe a little bit, maybe not a lot, but they have a little bit of cash they can throw around.
Yeah, but I mean, normally, if you're a movie star, you don't necessarily go back to doing TV.
Right, but now people are seeing that, and I think it comes with the merchandising side of it, that kind of stuff. If I'm getting the same price to do a series as I would be a movie, and I know I'm getting better merchandising and all that crap off of it.
Yeah, what's it matter, right?
Yeah, who cares? Money's money. I would be content to play a role for the rest of my life and know that I'm set. Like, it's good, but a lot of actors, they do want to branch out. They do want to do more stuff. And the good thing about the way these things are done is they allow the actors to do stuff in between. Right? You're not filming 24/7. These are eight episode, 40 minutes. They film all these in the course of under like 6 months.
Yeah, but I mean, right now with the way they're doing it, they'll film these and they'll go directly into movies with them. So they are kind of filming 365 days a year almost.
Right.
They don't really get that time for the pet projects.
But it is going to be there's going to be a lull in the filming eventually.
Right.
So. And you got to, there's all the back end stuff of structuring the filmings so people do have time between everything and you're not doing too much, like Benedict Cumberbatch is going to do his Doctor Strange movie and then film some of his Secret War, wherever he's at. So, I mean, getting back to fan theory, though, because we
went off on a tangent.
And we fan theoried. Look at that.
Well, we went off on a tangent.
Superheroes cannot be allowed to exist. I have no intention to leave my work unfinished.
Back to fan theory. So you're saying that it's a really bad thing?
I am.
Okay.
I'm saying it kind of, for me, it ruins the shows. It ruins, the way that some of these shows might be accepted. Because like I said, if somebody doesn't get what they want as a fan theory, first thing they do is jump on the internet and they give bad reviews. And then a lot of people jump on board and they're like, oh, well, I mean, that guy said it sucks, so it must suck. And then next thing you know, it's an avalanche. All it takes is one piece at the top to start falling down, and then everything ends up in this giant snowball at the bottom where you can get something like what happened with Solo. They can talk bad about it and whatever. And I'll say it, the movie that led into Solo before was a bad movie, and that led into Solo not doing well at the box office when it was actually a really good movie. But fan theories can also do that the same way. It can give a negative review on a really good movie, and then it doesn't turn out, and then people won't show up to see the next thing.
I think you have a very valid point there. And the thing with fan theories is you don't have to read them.
No, but they're there, and people like to get that information in between stuff. I mean, really,
you're saying the effect as a whole on the
effect as a whole is bad.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just what you do.
You personally can ignore fan theories, but the effect on the fandom as a whole, I definitely agree that it is negative.
Right. I mean, I like reading them, and I like looking at them and going, no. I like shooting them down.
Think about most of the fan theories that you have read. How many are just bad?
Almost all of them. I mean, for everything.
There's a reason that these people are making fan theories and not writing scripts.
Well, exactly. That's what we said earlier. That's why they're not writing movies. That's why they're writing fan theories on Reddit and Facebook and whatever else,
Right. And I mean, I think there's a difference between a fan theory and then making logical connections based on the universe and things like that. So the MCU has introduced a lot of characters. but nowhere near the cast of characters that exist in each of these IPs, right?
Right.
So you don't have the, like we got Thor, but we've yet to see Beta Ray Bill.
Right.
And all that side of it.
I would love to see Beta Ray
I
Bill.
think we're going to with the new, think about it. He's with the Guardians.
I mean, he should show up. I mean, logically, with them heading in this cosmic direction with Secret Wars and
Eternals and all this stuff.
and you have them out there with Captain Marvel in that area of the galaxy, you should see Beta Ray Bill show up.
Which would be cool. I think he would be a good character, whether hero or villain, one way or the other.
Well, I mean, if I remember correctly, he starts as a villain and then comes around at some point, right?
Yeah.
So kind of like they did with Silver Surfer in that horrible, horrible second Fantastic Four movie. They made him a villain that turned into, he was the reason they were able to stop their cloud of Galactus instead of it actually being Galactus, which never made sense to me. But that was Fox, so you get what you get.
So let's talk a little bit more fan theories by looking into some of the stuff of it. So we're looking at an article on Looper. It'll be linked in the show notes. It's just some good fan theories they put together about Falcon and Winter Soldier. The first one is because we had getting Zemo back, Baron Zemo, who was the leader of the Thunderbolts. Now, the Thunderbolts, if you don't know who the Thunderbolts are, think Suicide Squad, but in Marvel. But they're not working for the government. They're sometimes working for the government, sometimes working for themselves. They're kind of a mix of antagonists, heroes, anti-heroes, villains. And Zemo's been kind of the de facto leader of them for most of their tenure. And while they've done the comics have kind of gone all over the place with them. They've been good guys, bad guys. There's been good and bad guys on the team at the same side playing different roles. But at the end of the day, Zemo has always been kind of a villain. And Zemo's villainy tends to win out that side of his personality. So bringing in the Thunderbolts is a big jump because that's a lot of characters. But bringing in a couple of the Thunderbolts working with Zemo as the villains, it's going to give Falcon and Bucky a challenge. Especially if they bring in the powered.
When we first read this one, I was kind of like, eh. But the more you think about it is, yes, you got to have something to go along with Zemo. I don't think you get a complete introduction of it because you have to, all these shows have to tie into the Secret Wars somehow. So you would have to logically find a way to do that between the Thunderbolts into the Secret Wars and make the two mesh into one story. Because this is the end game of this phase. They teased Thanos for 10 years. This is the end game of this one.
Right. And I think you're going to see a few things. So the main... and I think the characters we're going to see, and this is just more an observation of the environment we live in, they're going to be the female characters. They're going to be the minority characters.
Right.
So, not that that's a bad thing, but I think that's the characters you got to look for, is because that's the ones that play to the current climate.
I need you to say that without throwing up in your mouth.
I'm fine with it. I accept it.
Y'all didn't get to see the look on his face, people.
Well, because of what we're going to be getting into in another episode about how they treat minority characters and female characters. That's also why I'm kind of hesitant to say anything about it is... But, there's some great characters, too. It's just a question of, do they tokenize everything? But we'll put that aside. So, of the Thunderbolts, the one that the fans are seeming to want the most is Songbird. Melissa Gold, she also went by Screaming Mimi. She was a villain who did turn hero. And in one of the Thunderbolts' main arcs, I think it was early on in the series, she ended up leading the Thunderbolts because Zemo turned evil and she turned on him. They had a relationship. but Zemo was playing everybody because
that's what he does.
yeah, that's the Zemo we got in the MCU too, which I think is good because he's just this manipulator who's out to make people destroy themselves because these super people destroyed his home and killed his family.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he did in Civil War. You know, he manipulated Cap and Winter Soldier into taking out Tony.
And that was one of the best. That may still be, to me, the best superhero movie I've ever seen.
I don't know. I'm still liking Captain America 2, Winter Soldier. That one's still really good, man.
They were both solid. Like Civil War was the second Avengers movie we should have gotten.
Right, but I mean, they had to do Age of Ultron to get.
Yeah, no, Winter Soldier was also really good, and of course The Dark Knight. But those three probably are my top superhero movies. Period. So that was, then there's a chance that we could see the first black super soldier, which there was like a side story that of Isaiah Bradley, who also got a super soldier infusion.
Okay.
But he was like a black Captain America, which would be cool because his grandson or great-grandson, I forget which one, became Patriot in Young Avengers. And we're seeing a push toward Young Avengers with Wanda's kids. The fact that at the end of the whole thing, she hears them calling out.
Right. Now, I feel like, a lot of people were waiting for the multiverse to bust open in WandaVision. And I think that end credit scene, if you
that was just perfect.
If you haven't seen it yet, spoiler alert,
it was perfect.
She's about to bust it.
Yeah, and she's, her kids were illusory in the Hex, but now we realize that there's a real version of those kids somewhere.
Right.
So those two are best known for Young Avengers. So another one is Isaiah Bradley's great-grandson or grandson, who gets a transfusion from him because he gets in an accident or needs a blood transfusion, and then he gains the super soldier powers that way. So you could see a young black Captain America, which would be cool. Like, I think, and then you've got Cassie Lang, Stature, who's Scott Lang's daughter, who's now in her teens,
right?
Because she was like 10 or 12, and now, after the snap,
right?
She's now a teenager. Yeah. So there you go. And then, so again, that's another fan theory that it has some basis, could be good, but at the same time, you have to introduce Isaiah Bradley. You have to establish all that. Film-wise, which you could do, you could see Isaiah Bradley as the head of a group that Falcon and the Winter Soldier work for.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know.
Because Falcon, you got to remember, he's still in the military.
I just don't know what they're going to do, how they're going to bridge this
and
whole
then there's another
story
thing
into what's going on for the next thing.
Right, so the next one on the looper is General Ross. He's coming back to lead a team, probably a Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That's possible. Then you've got Sharon Carter's character from Civil War and
Winter Soldier. Yeah. I mean, she would be awesome to show back up.
The actress is coming back, right? So her character is coming back.
Well, if she's already confirmed, then this is going to be where
she's in the trailer.
I mean,
if you haven't seen the newest trailer,
this is going to be where she shows up. So it's going to be what her part of it's going to be.
Right. And, how she's going to fit in. One of the more out there theories on this is because of Bucky's ties to like Russian super soldier programs, they could possibly bring in somebody like Omega Red, which as a threat he would be really good because he essentially has adamantium powers of Wolverine, but he would
be too OP for this.
But don't you need an OP villain?
You don't need someone as Omega Red OP.
Yeah, because he can literally suck the life from people.
Yeah,
that's
why he was.
He's a combination of Wolverine, a vampire, and like Belmont.
But that's the reason why he was mainly a Wolverine villain, you know, an antagonist for Wolverine, because you couldn't kill him because of his healing factor. So
Yeah, well, it's not.
you know,
He doesn't have a healing factor, but he basically has the equivalent of adamantium coated skin.
who's that? Omega Red?
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm talking about Wolverine. That's why Wolverine was mainly his. That's why they mainly fought, was because Wolverine's healing factor could take over the
Now that you're
sucking of
saying
the
this,
life
I
from
really
him.
want to see Omega Red in whatever version of Wolverine we get.
I would like to. Yes, I've always enjoyed him as a villain, but you know, you have to take it in stride. You can't just throw these characters out and say, "Oh, this is going to be it because of that."
Now, I think something too that here's another fan theory, because we're gonna have this new Black Widow from the movies. You know, like the Black Widow movie is going to be a prequel to everything that happens in the MCU. So the characters from that could easily be folded in. And we know what happens to Natasha Romanoff, but could there be a new Black Widow from that film? You know, one of the other.
Yeah, because Black Widow is supposed to be like a Winter Soldier thing. It's just a title given to the spies, not necessarily to Natasha Romanoff and her being the only one.
Right. So it could be a new. Now, we were supposed to get the Black Widow movie this past year, I think. It was supposed to be out before Winter Soldier. So that could screw things up a little bit. But I think at the end of the day, if you just plop in a new character and just establish the character in story, it's not that bad of a thing. And then when you see the Black Widow movie, you'll be like, oh, here's a little more about the character. That's cool, but it's telling a good story and dropping a character in.
Yeah, because like I said, I don't really care for origins anymore. So, you know, give us the character, then, you know, rehash her origin or his origin inside of the Black Widow movie.
Yeah. There's also a theory about Jolt, who was a electricity-based superhero who got her powers from being experimented on by Aram Zola, who, if you watched the MCU, turned into the Aram Zola we knew from the comics, which is just a consciousness on a computer.
Right. Thanks, Winter Soldier.
Yep. So that, you know, any of his creations are fair game. Then you have Bucky's sister is also in here as a fan theory. So, you know, she would be in her 90s. And possibly someone who, you know, Bucky's a great-great-grandfather, or a great-grandfather, or a great-granduncle, whatever. I don't know how it works. And, yeah, great-granduncle. But you know, those are some of the main ones they pulled together, but some of those are good. Some of those are kind of out there and require a lot of work to get a character in there. But we don't. And I think the lesson Marvel learned is you don't need to always do an origin story. And I think Spider-Man is a pretty good example of that.
So what's our plan? Great. So no plan.
Enjoy your ride, Buck.
No, you can't call me that.
Why not? That's what Steve called you.
Steve knew me longer, and Steve had a plan.
I have a plan.
Really? What is it?
Hey, folks, we're back. So getting back to where fan theories stand, I think I agree with you that they are the enemy of the good.
Yeah, it can single-handedly destroy a series, you know, because it can throw people off and make them not watch it, you know, and to me that's bad. And like I said, I mean, I like to draw back to the Star Wars thing and the effect it had on Solo. And like I said, they weren't great movies on their own. You know, it is what it is. But the negative reaction from that show, you know, which one was that? The Last Jedi? What was the second one? Yeah, The Last Jedi. Or whatever it was called. I don't even know anymore. Doesn't matter. The fan reaction from that made Solo tank at the box office. And Solo was actually a really good movie.
It was. I enjoyed it. It was a really good explanation of where it came from. It gave depth to what was already arguably one of the most iconic characters Harrison Ford ever played, besides Indiana Jones. But the fan theories just really don't help.
No. And like I said, I mean,
I think you're definitely right that they create this false expectations in the community.
Yeah, because, I mean, especially if you pay attention on social media, they get out there every day, and they just keep repeating them over and over again. And then people take them as fact.
Yeah, and they're fueled by leaks, right? So one picture gets out of this purple-haired chick on set. Everyone thinks Songbird is going to be in the movie.
In reality, she's just a camera guy.
She could just be part of the crew, you know? By the way, that was the basis in the Looper piece for the Songbird theory. It's because there was a leaked photo from the set, and it's hard to tell if it was, an actor, actress, or just a crew person that had a purple mohawk.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like WandaVision did a good job of keeping the hush on actually what was happening in that show.
They've been good in general, Marvel has.
They really weren't tricked by the leaks, if you will. So you didn't really know a whole lot about what was going into it before. And that's where the fan theories came in, because there wasn't anything out there for people to really go off of. We were just living off of what we saw on screen. So that brought in the fan theories. People are upset because Mephisto didn't show up. Well, just because Mephisto didn't show up in this one doesn't mean you're not going to see him later on.
Yeah, or any number of people. You mean the Darkhold is there, and that's tied to a very specific villain.
Agatha's still there too. So, I mean, she's just tricked into believing she belongs in Westview for right now. But that doesn't mean she's not going to be awoken at any point in time, because you don't bring an actress in on the quality of Catherine Hahn and then not plan to use her later on.
Right. And I mean, her character was brilliant. I absolutely loved it. And I got lost in the show so much that, my knowledge of the mystical crew of Marvel is not very big. And I didn't know Agatha.
Right. But it made you go do research on her.
Right.
Like if
and
you didn't
at the
know,
same
you
time,
went and
it's
look
like,
it up.
oh, cool. So she has been, I mean, there's Brother Voodoo, who is a Louisiana version of Doctor Strange.
Right.
I'd like to see him, actually. I think he would be a good character to bring in the...
As long as it's in the Gambit movie.
Yeah. 100%. Yes.
I just want Gambit. Okay?
I want Gambit, and I want the Mississippi Road that we had in the X-Men cartoon.
Yeah, I want Gambit. I mean, that's a character that they need to bring in somehow, some way. I don't care if it's through a hex, if it's, a Cajun guy driving through Westview and he gets the powers. I don't give a shit. I want Gambit there.
He's going through Raceland and he hits the sugar mill, and all of a sudden,
the stank from the plant gives him the powers of kinetic energy. I'm fine with that. Just give me Gambit.
He falls in the bag ass, and then the whole bag ass just explodes as his mutant powers wake up. But I think it's Gambit is just such a rich superhero.
It's an iconic character that needs to be there. I mean.
Now, we're probably past this point of this actor's career, but I always thought when I was watching White Collar, Matt Bomer.
Yeah, I can't think of him.
Okay.
But yeah, it's over.
He pulled off in the show, he was a con man criminal, and he pulled it off very well. And I'm like, this is exactly the character that I would see for Gambit, but with a Louisiana accent.
Yeah.
So, it's all these things that you see and all these people that could have played bigger roles and done other things. Like, you know, if we'd have gotten Captain America 20 years ago, you know, you could see somebody like Neil McDough playing the role. But now that he's a lot older, he ends up on DC Legends as.
Yeah, I mean, could you
It's
really
not bad.
imagine? Could you really imagine any of the any other actors playing the characters that we got so far?
No.
I mean, they all
No.
made them iconic, right? I mean, I couldn't imagine anybody else playing Iron Man.
I mean, you know, we still don't know who we're going to get in a suit. There's going to be an iron suit somewhere in.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's always talk about the Ironheart is the next place they're going to end up at. So,
Which I'm good with that because it's another Young Avenger. So
right?
that,
I mean,
that would bring us up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 potential Young Avengers.
and that might be where they're headed. But I mean, let's.
We're doing fan theories.
Yeah, we're
doing it.
We're falling into it. And that's the thing. It's fun to get there.
Yes.
But the part that makes it bad is when you become obsessed with it and you allow it to control what you're actually seeing on screen and then be pissed off because you didn't get that.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. And I think fan theories may have had a little bit to do with Ultron's situation, like the movie Age of Ultron.
It's possible. I mean, you look back
But
at
we did get an Ultron that was pretty close to the comics.
and you look back at it now and after Endgame and after Infinity War and after WandaVision, you do get a little more insight into what actually was going on in Ultron.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it does increase the quality of Ultron a little bit more.
All right, folks. Well, I think that's going to do it for us for this episode. Like, share, subscribe. We appreciate all of you guys that are listening and hoping you are continuing to enjoy the content. We'll be expanding our presence on social media and also on the YouTube. We're finally caving to the pressure and putting up some audio versions there. We're not going video just yet. At least not.
Yeah, you don't want to see these faces on screen.
Nobody does. With a face for radio and a voice for silent film, so you always have to deal with enough of that. But we will see you guys on the next episode.
Later.
So we're partners,
Co-workers.
not necessarily a team.
No.
We look damn good, though.